In this scene, Dr. Chris is explaining how to use the SSTA toolkit to better manage overwhelming negative feelings that can interfere with one's ability to think clearly. SSTA stands for Stop, Slow Down and Be Aware, and Then Think and Act. She explains that when individuals first become aware of a negative feeling, it is important to think of it as a signal to stop, apply a slow down tool, such as deep breathing, in order to become less aroused, accept one's feelings, and ultimately think more clearly. By slowing down, the brain is able to manage a stressful situation more effectively. The key here is to better understand one's emotions and what is important to them, while at the same time preventing the feeling from dictating all of one's actions. Note that Dr. Chris emphasizes the importance of practicing these tools.
Last time we talked a lot about this new toolkit called SSTA. Stop, slow down, be aware of what's going on inside you before you can even think about what you want to do, think about what's going on, and then obviously before you act on it, right? But that's kind of hard to do, and I threw out a lot of terms and talked a lot about the brain, so let me see if you have any questions about that.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, and I feel better learning I'm not just crazy. Because my brain, I guess, is just wired to look for danger. Mm-hmm. But I don't get it. What did you call those parts of the brain exactly?
Okay. Well, the actual terms that I talked about a lot were the amygdala, which is kind of like the emotional trigger, right, that gets conditioned, and the hippocampus, which also brings kind of a lot of your memory of events into place. But what's really important is just to think of it as you have this survival circuitry, the survival circuit button trigger in your brain, and that's been conditioned to go off whenever there's any kind of real danger or perceived danger. It can be something inside you, it can be something outside of you, and it's very, very adaptive. It's intense and it's automatic.
Yeah, that's easier. Although, it made me think of myself as less crazy just to know that everyone has the survival system.
Yeah, we do.
Mine really does seem to just hit me hard when my buttons get pushed.
Yeah, I can really feel that. And that's because all of us have unique experiences in our life that signal that threat or danger to us. And so when that trigger goes off, you're not even conscious of it. You feel it in your body because your body has memory. You feel it in your head in terms of what you're thinking, and also in terms of how you want to act, because when that trigger goes off, that's what's referred to as the fight or flight reaction. So all you can think of is either running away, withdrawing, or actually fighting. And so it doesn't really leave you many different options, right? It's just a strong, intense desire that you want to follow through with. And so that's why it takes such practice over time to really be able to lower it, turn down the volume on it, enough that you can feel your feelings, but not so strong that you can't think of anything else to do other than fighting or running away.
But then why does my reaction seem so much stronger than other people's?
Okay, usually because of your own unique experiences. It actually makes a lot of sense that it does. Remember the difficulties you experienced as a kid growing up in a rough neighborhood with a dad who was really harsh and abusive? Well, at that time, your brain became sensitive and you learned to be on the lookout for any kind of pain or danger. And it's what helped you survive as a kid. Then later, when you served in Afghanistan, that same survival mode was helpful again and kept your body on alert for danger, rather than put energy into less critical decisions that your logical brain may need to go through, like what are you going to have for dinner, what you wanted to do when you came home, after discharge. So now, when somebody says something disrespectful or critical, your brain, which has learned to be very sensitive to any kind of danger, reacts so quickly to this threat, automatically. And your body remembers. It reacts before you're even conscious that it's happening. That's why when your boss says something that may be critical or when you're self-critical and you say something after you're disappointed in yourself, you react so intensely. It's so strong. You say things to yourself like, I'm stupid. Why did this happen? I wish I could die. And it just sets that whole stress reaction into motion.
It just feels like I can't help myself. You know, I tried to use the stop and slow down thing this week, but I just blew it.
Yeah. That's we have so many good examples of how when we try to do that, we find ourselves kind of thwarted. So can you give me a description of what actually happened to you with that situation?
Well, I had to take a test at work to get certified for the next level of training. I had some trouble with some questions, and I just started thinking that I'm stupid. Who am I kidding? Everybody's going to know I'm stupid.
Yeah, and like, so why even bother, right? So that's the kind of that flight reaction kicking in, right? So that's you saying, no, I'm not even going to bother with this. What's the use? So that's a real great example of why we need to be able to really stop, notice those triggers going off, and use one of the toolkits to basically deploy that stop and slow down to bring your body back to a point where you can start to think about what to do.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What actually was going on? If you can go back in imagery, what was actually happening in that scene?
Yeah. Well, I was in a classroom. It reminded me of taking tests when I was a kid. You know, knowing that if I did bad, my dad would yell at me. He would call me stupid. He'd make fun of me. The other guys looked like they all had it together. And so, you know, honestly, I was just so upset and distracted. I felt hot and sweaty, and I just ran right out of the room. I spent the rest of the day at home just hating myself, honestly.
Can you tell me what your body actually felt like? You said you were hot and sweaty. Anything else with your body?
Yeah, so hot, sweaty, like I couldn't breathe.
Okay.
It was like when I looked at a question, it just felt like I couldn't even read it. Like I couldn't even make sense of it.
Oh, that's a great example. And I'm really sorry you had to go through that. But if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is use that to kind of bring you back to that same point where you were right before you ran out of the room, when you could feel the sweatiness and kind of sick and you were really hot. And in your imagination, if you can take a moment and bring yourself back there, maybe even close your eyes for a minute as you think about that, and kind of put yourself back into that room and think about using one of the slow down techniques we talked about. And before I have you actually do that, can you tell me, out of some of the ones that we talked about, what kind of resonated with you, one that you might have found useful?
I actually feel just hot and kind of sick right now, just like in the class.
Yeah. Okay. And so what I'd like you to do, as you kind of describe yourself in that situation, what would you say is your level of discomfort with that?
Oh, probably like an 8 out of 10.
Ooh, okay, that's really pretty strong. Okay, so I'm glad we have the opportunity to do this, but sad you're going through this. So maintaining that visualization, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to stop, use a slow down technique. Which one you're going to use in this scene, in this image?
Maybe like a few deep breaths, or the Serenity Prayer from AA.
Okay. Let's do that. So now you're in this situation. You're hot. You're sick. You're sweaty. Okay. Let you just stop. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Good. Now silently say to yourself the Serenity Prayer. Now, as you're doing that right now, okay, describe to me how you're feeling, what your level of discomfort is.
Okay, well, it's kind of going down. I can see, you know, if I were in this situation, I probably would be calmer. I wouldn't need to run out. Might take a few more times of doing that, though.
Yeah.
Before I can, you know, go on to that next question, honestly.
Yeah. I've known people that have used that same stop and slow down technique at least 4 or 5 times while they were taking an exam, before they were able to be centered enough to be able to keep going. But look at the difference that could make in terms of you being able to stay there and complete the exam. Because running out, you guarantee that you're going to fail it, right? But if you can use a slow down technique that allows your mind to keep working and to remain focused, even though you feel nervous, you feel bad, you have memories of your dad, your body feels a little bit sick, if you can bring that down to a lower level, it at least allows you to get through that exam. And that's the reason for the need to continually practice it. Do you think this is something that you'd be willing to practice the next time your trigger goes off?
Yeah, I think I will.
Okay.
I think I agree. It'll take a few times
Yeah.
before I could really kind of calm down and just kind of stay focused on what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
I promise I'll try it.
Okay, great, great. That's the courage right there.